Oh, I thought you guys would be interested in this. We've been talking about Hannibal Lecter for a while here. Like, I don't know. It's just funny as hell. I've actually referenced this movie myself a bazillion times for God knows what reason. The character in it is just, I don't know. I think the worst character in it is Buffalo Bill, and for some reason Hannibal gets a lot of attention. Like somehow every man actually wants to be Hannibal. Nobody wants to be Buffalo Bill, but there's a lot of Buffalo Bills out here. Um, so yeah, and Trump mentioned him, and I was joking. I was like, yeah, Kevin's like the Hannibal Lecter. I'm kind of like, the Jodie Foster character over here. I'm on the other side of the table. We know not to sit too close to these people. Okay, but the thing that makes this study interesting is that it's about women, and it's just a study. Studies don't mean anything. They just look at something and they go, oh, well, from the ones that we looked at, this seems to be, what we've noticed. Now, things could be variables here. Is it just because they said, we're taping you? Doesn't mean that they're going to act differently. And now, what if they did that to some non-sociopaths, psychopaths? They use these terms interchangeably. They use narcissism, a narcissist. Like, I actually found out, like, on Instagram, that's where it's coming from. I actually went down this rabbit hole. It was actually interesting because it's like, okay, the traits you're saying is a sociopath. But if you ask these people that are doing these studies right here, they're going to say psychopath. And then somebody else will use ASPD and then, interchangeably all these things. And I've been saying that when I've been going through them myself, I go, some of these people may be like autistic and have a cluster of things, right? Because I go, why are they misdiagnosing it anyway? Like they don't all end up in prison. But there's a lot of questions in this area, and so it's just really interesting to see all the different, things about it. But yeah, Instagram has this whole rabbit hole about narcissists. And I was watching one thing one day, and then, it thinks that you want to watch them all. And I was kind of going through it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's why they're going narcissist. They go right to narcissist, but it's actually categorically what they would consider a psychopath. And I use the word socio, but again, I'm even playing around with that because it's kind of like, is it a cluster of things, right? So there's a lot of questions. Studies are just that. Okay, I'm just going through that. This is what they came up with doing this study. And so I've always made fun of studies and stuff, but let's see what they say. So they literally use the beginning of
No, sir.
he's all okay. So they're trying to claim. I was like, I thought it was funny though, because I was like, I actually know there's a whole bunch of guys that do this though. There is some women, but yeah, the guys are creepy because the guys will do this thing just like that, and they start talking to you like they're purposely being like a creepster, and then you start like looking around, trying to avoid the gaze because it's all creepy. And so I know damn well I don't do it. I do the quite opposite thing. Like I look like I'm trying to catch flies somehow, but yeah. And then they start going, "Why won't you look me in the eye?" And then like the minute that I do, they go, "Oh, wow, you have the most beautiful eye." They start this shit, right? They start all kinds of shit. And then they have this thing where they don't blink much. Like they'll look right at you. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure that could be a combination of that they're socio and then also like autistic or something weird. But this is what they're saying that they're catching in these people that they have considered and classified as a psychopath. Okay? So they did this thing.
Hello,
This head movement will tell you if a woman is a psychopath, scientists reveal.
sir.
This head movement will tell you if a woman is a psychopath, scientists reveal. Okay, so it says that, and it goes, I know, I'm like, stay away from me. He's like, how to spot a psycho. It's not as easy as watching The Silence of the Lambs. Sometimes. It's just stupid, but okay. However, a University of Mexico study, it's just a study again, guys, okay? Analyzing video interviews of incarcerated women identified one dead giveaway. Using an automated detection algorithm, researchers found women who keep their heads still were more likely to have psychopathic traits. Okay, so it's just saying more likely, more likely. But did they do this on the general population? Now, you don't know in the general population, even if you did that study, that maybe if you did find those people that they are all psychopaths. They could be. And then, I was like, then you don't. There isn't any really good conclusive thing to this right now, but this is just that. I'm just trying to explain it because people will read these studies and take it for what it's saying and then run around and going, oh yeah, if you don't move your head around, you're a psychopath. Like doing this. And it could be for other reasons. They may have like a stiff person syndrome, something like that. Psychopathic behavior includes, so let me show you guys how these terms get really mixed together. But a psychopath would be a narcissist. It would be totally in there. So when they pull it out, it's like pulling out this trait, like in them, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Everybody has one, okay? So it's like they pull out this one trait, but it's like manipulation, pathological lying, impulsive behavior, and a lack of remorse. Now, isn't that like almost every man we've ever met, right? How they treat women like shit, right? That's why I go, the definition of male supremacy is a sociopath. But because you wouldn't act the way that you do, like such as having slaves, right? That is somebody that has a sociopath behavior, but yet it's not really identified together. I'm identifying it together because it is. But it's sort of seen at, they go extremists. And I'm like, well, no, this is actually what their problem is. And the problem came from early childhood. There's totally a thing to this. So when you go down the rabbit hole of Instagram, it'll have these videos and they're pretty on point as far as like trying to describe this type of person, but it's under narcissist, and it'll be like the childhood things that could happen, like neglect, this long list of things. And they state, at least they state in there, there's no fix for this, okay? Currently, there's not. The only way that anything like this could even remotely be corrected is if the person that's being considered a psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, ASPD asshole, okay, actually identifies it and does some corrective behaviors. Now, there's some people actually on Instagram that are claiming that they have been diagnosed as these things and that they've been through treatments or going through treatments. And then they start explaining like what they were doing and blah, 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 blah. Now, how truthful are those people actually being diagnosed? There's no way for us to know, right? We're kind of going through somebody doing that. They could do it just for attention and say, I'm this, and they think it's cool, whatever. But they may actually legitimately be. So then they're kind of like talking about going through this level of therapies. And then, it kind of goes in this thing. But yeah, they'll tell you, it's like, oh yeah, I had to make sure I heard him, and just crazy shit. So, basically, yeah. So if you go down that mill and you see narcissists, they're basically talking about this, and they don't all have, like, this pathological lying thing is kind of weird because I have noticed that in some of them, okay, let me use Kevin as an example. He's lying to like not get in trouble, right? I don't know the level of his pathological lying. It seems like he does, but then the thing with some of these guys is that actually telling the truth, but in a way of how they say it, goes a long way. And that you have to kind of have that truth in there, because otherwise they sound like that other dude that want to be coming at me, okay? They be sounding like that dude where it's just delusionally crazy, right? But he is a pathological liar, and it's part of what happened there. But then they may actually believe it. He could be that delusional. Sometimes it's hard to tell if the pathological liar is believing what they're saying, because then that goes into the delusional state, or they're just saying crap because they know they can spin the very naive public into the bullshit that they're saying. And so yeah, some of these traits, like I've noticed, and a lot of them vary. Like some could be really high on the scale of being a pathological liar, but then some are just straight up honest and they're just total assholes and it works for them. It's like whatever is working for them, they will do. So I've never found a really black and white way to explain them. It's like it depends. It depends on which one. It depends, all these things. Manipulation. Yeah. Okay. So this is always top with them. Manipulation. Impulsive behavior. So impulsive behavior includes drug addiction. So I brought this up quite a bit. I said it. I don't want to go out here on the limb and say every person who is a drug addict is a sociopath. Like this thing. But it is one of the traits of them because they're. I've talked about on their definition of what they considered psychopath, where their emotions sometimes are dialed down so low. I mean, it's not like they don't feel anything, they do. But in order to feel like love or they don't feel love really. Okay. So they're chronically miserable. So they'll do things for highs and lows because they're so out of whack that they get like a stimulation from doing crazy shit, right? And it could be anything. It could be harming other people. It could be harming themselves or doing highly risky behavior. So a lot of the people that we talk about, they do highly risky behavior. And so they get a thrill out of it because that's how they go on. And then the lack of remorse. Okay, so like they don't have any empathy towards like raping women or anything like that. So everything, like when you're talking to them, they minimize all these topics and you'll watch it and it's almost like women are so dumb and don't have a clue that that's what you're dealing with is a sociopath, and there's no fix to that. So no matter what you say to them, they may sit there and pretend like I'm going to fix myself, but the reality is they did not develop right, and so you can't fix that. What you can do is maybe try to get them to curb their actions and go into treatment. I think that's the area where, that's all you could do with it. And they have to want to do it. You can't like force them into that. And then some are extraordinarily violent. Violence will come into this, but how violent they are again varies on the spectrum. There's a spectrum here. And so when you look at this, it's like all of us are on this spectrum. Like, where I wouldn't call you a psychopath, but I would say everybody's on this spectrum of the sociopath thing, right? So you probably don't have a chronic thing of manipulation, but you probably have at a time manipulated somebody, right? I think there's this human level of things like you've manipulated somebody into giving you something, or just something like that. So you can have this relatable aspect or a relatable understanding to this problem here, where like there's like a normal level of like human behavior that's like it's not the greatest and we all like make mistakes, right? That's that thing. This thing is not about mistakes. This is about a very off kilter person that's like on the far extreme on a spectrum. And this is how I view it. How these people view it, I don't know. But that's how I view it because it's like we've all done something that was manipulating, right? At some time. As a little kid, as, something. Pathologically lying. You may not be a pathological liar, but everybody has lied about something at a time or two or more. I was like, or more. Impulsive behavior. I believe that some people, we've all done something impulsive. So we've all done some impulsive behavior, right? And these people, though, cannot stop. It's like they have to do these things for these highs, And so people are kind of seeing, there was actually a clip on Instagram, so I'll use that analogy too, because it was actually just right. I was like, it was perfect. They're like, the way that they see you is like a good cup of coffee, right? They pick up the cup of coffee and they drink it and they're like, I really want this right now. It's really good. And then when they're done with it, they just set it aside. They're done. That's the end of you. That honest to God is these men. And then the lack of remorse. Now, we've all done something where we have hurt somebody and then didn't feel bad about it, but that could be for a number of reasons, like the way you perceive the situation, or you purposely did something like that. We've all done these things. That's why I'm saying I go, this behavior, like just on a human scale is part of human nature. But this is like way over here, right? It's like way over here, and then you might be over here. You could be somewhere in the middle. You could have a little bit more of these tendencies, and then there's someone way over here. That's exactly how I look at this. Now, women haven't really been looked at in this, and I was talking about these crazy girls growing up, right? And I was saying, I did some things that could be considered on the spectrum, as a kid. And I think a lot of kids did, and some worse than others. And I go, yeah, it was the traits were seen very young, and they just disregarded it totally. And I believe the sooner you get it, you could possibly correct this type of thing. Or if they were not able to develop, like, lack of remorse or anything like that, you can correct them on a path to not maybe harm a lot of people. They may not regulate properly, but, I have this thing about it. Anyway, so as we go, oh wait, there's a few more things on this. So these new results match previous studies on male psychopaths that found that they had a much more fixed and focused head position. Experts suspect stationary body language is a tactic used by psychopaths to hide potential clues about their sinister motives. Yeah, and they're the ones that always act like everybody's crazy, right? So they're the ones kind of going, oh, if they don't look me in the eye, they're a liar. Okay, so they start flipping it. They're really notorious for gaslighting and making you seem like the crazy one. They are. So we're trying to, and there's always these nuanced things about it, because then there's those that are totally are crazy and they move all over the place, and they're still a psychopath. Okay. So it's kind of this thing where it's like it's hard to like go, oh, this and that, because I'm like, again, it depends. It depends on who. It depends on who. And their traits vary like on which scale. But okay, so apparently they're saying that. So if they just sit there and they're very proper, like I don't trust those proper people. Does anybody else have that problem? I don't trust those proper, prim and proper people where they don't move and they're very like, you would put them on a conservative scale, maybe. Like this is actually the body position, conservative, very like non-movement and don't do the wrong things and that thing. Yeah, those people creep me out. And it's kind of funny that they're actually associating that with the psychopath. And my grandma. Okay, so let's see this. That's a chip, okay.
I think that
All right. So it says, how do you spot a psychopath? By the way, they talk actually, but okay. So according to one new study, there's one recognizable sign. New research suggests that levels of head movement during a conversation can be an indicator. Scientists researching in New Mexico conducted a study by observing recordings of women in police interviews. So here's the limitation of the studies. They're only going after people who are getting busted and getting police interviews. Just saying. So it's going to be very narrow research. Okay, just like with men, they found that most psychopaths among those interviewed kept their heads very still during conversation. And yet they sit there and start talking shit about people looking all over the place. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I go, they've been flipping it, Researchers at the University of New Mexico's Department of Psychology in Albuquerque claim that, to have conducted the first study into indications of psychopaths in women, okay? They said in the study, personality and individual differences, nonverbal behaviors, head dynamics, they represent an important yet understudied form of communication that may enhance our ability to detect certain forms of psychopathology, including psychopathy. Yeah, so, okay, a number of things are. Okay, we believe our results help identify a unique pattern of head dynamic characteristics of women scoring high on psychopathy. specifically exhibiting more stationary head positions during clinical interview administration. Scientists involved in the study used image processing and machine learning tool to record the head movements of 213 incarcerated women who were told that they were being filmed. Okay, so the addition of being told of being filmed kind of made me go, because when I'm on film or taping or anything like that, I have a very different mannerism. I don't know, there's like a whole nother person that take over. And so you start acting proper. It's like how you want to be seen. So you start acting a little different. So I don't know if that's at play in this study here. So that could be a problem. And anyways, okay, so we go down. Lack of head movement has been analyzed by scientists before as being an indicator of psychopathic tendencies in men before. But the same studies have not been conducted on women before now. Yeah, they didn't even do it on women. I'm telling you, dude, there's some creepy ass women out here. There's some creepy ass women out here, guys. It's like, do you really want to mess with them? I was like, capturing nonverbal communication cues such as head dynamics in a research setting may not necessarily mirror those demonstrated during day-to-day interactions. Meanwhile, a previous study showed a correlation between a specific coffee order and sadist or psychopathic tendencies. I have a little bit of the sadist, I like of the sadist thingy, but my head do not stay. I was like, it does not stay positioned like a creepy person. What is this? Wait. Let me see this study really quick because it's actually kind of funny. Coffee and a sadist. That would be a great name for a talk show, like a podcast thing. Coffee and a sadist. Okay, wait. So sadistic tendencies. Okay, yeah. So Ellen DeGeneres. I was like, yeah, there's actually a lot of people with that. It doesn't necessarily make you a total psychopath, but it again depends. Like what? Okay, so what's this? Yeah, so like I might enjoy, like I have an enjoyment for certain things as long as, and here's the difference, as long as the opposite party is like enjoying it in some which way. When I was younger, I probably didn't care. Like when I was younger, I didn't care much. Yeah, no, yeah, so a little bit, yeah, I'm on that spectrum right. If you like your black coffee, you may be someone who prefers strong flavors, takes good care of their health, or just wants to drink their coffee that way. It's supposed to be drunk. Or you may be a psychopath. I will agree. I think anybody that likes black coffee is a psychopath. I have to have my, I have to do something to mine. And then I put tons of sweetener in it. So, no. But back in the day, like when I was a kid, when I used to drink coffee as a kid, I don't know how many people did that, but I did. And I would put tons of sugar, like tons, and that's probably why I got fat. But I would put tons of sugar in it and tons of powdered creamer. And it was like heaven. It was like freaking heaven. And no, who the hell wants black coffee? And that's only when I'm on a major diet and I can't add anything else. Like, the research surveyed more than 1,000 adults, asking them to give their food and flavors preferences. The participants then took a series of personality tests, assessed antisocial personality traits such as sadism. I am a little bit of a sadism. That's why I said I was talking about the spectrum. I'm a little bit of a sadist. Like I'm a little bit of a sadist. That's actually that is. So I was like, yeah, but I believe everybody has these traits like in this, thing. But it's not like I run out and go hurt everybody and then, everybody's like crying and I'm totally enjoying it like that. It's like only if, there's got to be a participation in this because I'm not into like taking someone down and enjoying like a suffering animal. Like that's not the thing here. Narcissism and psychopathy. So I don't have narcissistic traits. I'm very, I have, this is just bizarre. I don't even know how it fits together, but I haven't overly, I'm a too empathetic, which is strange. Isn't it weird to have that and also be a bit of a sadist? Like to be a bit of a sadist. Um, and there, but the empathy thing goes kind of a little to the extreme. I don't know what happened. Like there was a point in my life where, okay, like the sadism was all there. And then all of a sudden, like this empathy thing developed, and then it kind of went, I feel like it went to an extreme. Like I feel that I started like being way more empathetic to people than I ever should be, who like do not have that for me, and I'll sit there and let them run me over. It's kind of like that thing. It's like I feel bad for them. I feel really bad for them. It's strange. How does that come together though? I don't know the answer to it. It was just really bizarre. I was like, and then I can't watch like nature stuff where like animals are dying or getting, like, it's very bothersome to me. So, but that was developed later. It was weird, but it kind of went over the top. Like to me, it feels like it went a little beyond like the normal threshold there sometimes, because I'll have a lot of anxiety and things over, like, I don't know, just that type of stuff. And then in psychopathy. So yeah, no. But I can understand maybe the levels of these other things, because when you're, I believe again, everybody's on the spectrum, and but I definitely fall into a little bit of the sadism thing right there. So I like totally do. Little bit of torture is good every day. Okay, so I tell you where the sadist traits came from, just for other people that may have something like that or question it. From my dad, because I do think he's a psychopath. I honest to God do. I go, unfortunately, it's because this is the weird thing, because all these men keep doing this, and I'm like, yeah, they have psychopathic traits. They all do. At least from the past. Okay, so when anytime I got injured, he would start laughing. And some parents may do this like like accident, not like purposely, like they think you getting hurt is funny, but in an action to like try to get him to stop crying, or some situation like that. It's really kind of weird. And to turn it into trying to get you to laugh, I know that's one part of it, but then he also had enjoyment of people getting killed. Like, this is a weird thing. Okay, so he had some enjoyment, I don't know why, from the Wild West, like some freaking weird stuff, you guys. Some weird thing from the Wild West. He had these books that had him getting killed, and they had these photos set up where you see the guy shot up. It was weird. Like they were like pose it. Like it was strange. And then he's looking at it, and then I saw it, and then he just makes jokes out of it. They shot him right in the thing and all these like other things. And I'm like, that's pretty morbid, dude. And he just like he's turning gore into something humorous, which is basically what Kevin Spacey did. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm just imagining his father may have a similar thing as my dad in that aspect right there, in that little thing. And yeah, when you guys start thinking about this stuff and really analyzing it and really going down it, I mean, really going down to that level, is like, what the hell? You can keep going on. And the answers, you don't need to do a study. The answers to it, at least, in the action portions, is just going back into your own history where I have these like weird things that I'm doing, right? And then just going down, going, where'd that come from? And who did it in my family? What were they doing, that could have caused that? And then things and the traits that you saw that they did. And then just, it takes a while. Yeah, it's totally a hot mess. But yeah, definitely those traits came from my father's side. That was not my mom's side at all. My mom's side was really like, whatever, whatever, do whatever. I don't know. It was really strange. And it wasn't dark, and she wasn't laughing at dead people and none of that. That was my dad. So my dad was viewing things that were extra serious and then turning it into a joke somehow. Like, don't take it seriously. And so luckily I developed, certain things here, but a situation like that could develop somebody that lacks all that. Now I think my brother lacks quite a bit. And then yeah, and he's the most acceptable one, right? Acting in that way. So they didn't develop right. They didn't develop right. But I'm thinking maybe I developed more because, okay, so my mom's side there maybe. And then, and then my great grandma and then my other grandma, not the evil one, but my other grandma. And so there's people that are acting normal, like acting in a more proper manner. So it's not like my household was only like of a psychopath. Because in which case, maybe, the outcome would be completely different. If they were both going on, in this manner. But anyways, that's my opinion on it. And I know that that portion came from that. Definitely came from that. This study carried out by the researchers at University of Innsbruck found that a preference for bitter flavors has linked to psychopath behavior. Oh, thankfully, not me. Yeah. The closest association was between bitter foods and everyday sadism. What? That is to say, enjoyment of inflicting moderate levels of pain on others. Yikes. No. I was like, no. This is funny. And it isn't just black coffee that should ring alarm bells. The study also found participants who reported a fondness for radishes, celery, and tonic water were also more likely to exhibit antisocial traits. Ew, yuck. I hate radishes. Celery is really hard for me to eat. And okay, so I could deal with tonic water if I can flavor it. If I can flavor that thing, it's okay. That's really weird. I don't like any of those things. I'm I'm not an antisocial. That's probably why. Also, ew. Ew, I'm so grossed out. Black coffee, radishes, and celery and it sounds like a fad diet. That's those diets that you're like, I don't want to do it, and they're gonna make you eat that shit. And then so all the psychopaths and the antisocials are like, this is fucking great, dude. I'm never gonna. Oh my god! If you go out on a date and the guy's just munching down on a celery stick, I'm running away. I freaking hated that. And they would do the peanut butter ones. I could not do it. I go, you know what? You can't eat. You could put whatever you want on the celery stick. It'll never taste good. If you cook it in a soup and it's totally mushy, I will eat it. Okay. This is not the first time research has found a link between taste and personality. Previous studies have shown sweet taste experiences increased agreeableness. Yeah. Like, no, and wait, eagerness to help, while bitter taste experiences increase hostility and elicit harsher moral judgments. Some people would say I fit in the harsher moral judge. I don't know, something like that, but I know that no, I disagree. It's just these are just studies and they're funny sometimes. The researchers Christina and Tobias or something believe this association may become chronic in people who have a strong liking for bitter flavors and lead them to have more hostile personalities. Oh my god, I'm going to pay more attention to the type of food that they eat. And okay, psychopaths also apparently enjoy gin and tonics and these particular songs. Oh, wait. Wait, we have to go to this. Wait. So if your next Tinder date orders strong black coffee and at the end of the meal or reaches over for a stick of celery, consider yourself warned. I would be grossed out just generally, so it's kind of funny. Wait, let me see. Wait, okay, so psychopaths also, wait, these particular songs. I have to see the songs, dude, you guys. Wait a second. No, it's not Huey Lewis and the News. Okay, wait. The new research I miss these researchers. This is great. I haven't seen these in a long time and they're hilarious to me sometimes. So this one's gonna be funny. Hey, I'm gonna agree with this. Okay, I'm gonna agree with this. Okay, research conducted in the UK by Channel 4, my favorite channel right now. Among over 3 million participants found that people who score highly on psychopath tests favor rap and heavy metal. I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that because if you listen even to their writing and everything, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this one's spot on. The least psychopathic preferred classical music. I loved classical music. Oh my God. I don't know what it is, but back in the day. Okay. And jazz. I wasn't a huge jazz fan. It was probably because my parents were into it. I don't hate it. I like aspects of it. But okay, bucking the tropes set by Hannibal Lecter. What? Why does Hannibal Lecter keep getting mentioned? This is bizarre. Researchers in New York looked at specific songs, testing 200 people for 260 different songs. They found that people who scored highest on psychopath tests ranged songs like No Diggity by Blackstreet and Lose Yourself by Eminem more highly. That makes sense. The researchers believe that the songs could help predict those with the disorder, which affects around 1% of people. Actually, I think it actually represents a hell of a lot more than that. Again, it's how they perceive it. It's kind of weird. So again, there's a spectrum, and I mean, what about the people that are writing those songs? Yeah. So the beauty of the idea is that you can use it as a screen test without consent, cooperation, or maybe even the knowledge of the people involved, without acknowledging the people involved. Okay. The ethics of this are very hairy, but so it's having a psychopath as a boss, and so is having a psychopath in any position of power. So the public loved Trump. So basically, what it's saying is that they relate to the psychopath and they don't have a problem with the psychopath and they see themselves in the psychopath. So therefore, there's a lot of people out here who most likely have those traits. It's kind of like that type of thing. And then there's just some that are so dumb that they believe the manipulation and so therefore they're just idiotic. I mean, they're just like, unless they know it's a tale, it's a wait, unless they know it's a tale by saying reading the finding publishings and multiple media outlets. To be fair to researchers, they predict this, not releasing other songs which were better predictors of psychopathy. The scientists declined to name these songs for fear of disrupting further research. The least psychopathic study participants were more likely to be fans of My Sharona by the Knack and Titanium by Okay, this information has us very worried. My Sharona is pretty creepy too. Like I don't know. So is it just because you don't have any other like more fluffier? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I absolutely agree with this test though. It would because the thing that they're getting into is like a very dark oh, like if a song's like, I'm gonna rape some women and do all these things and go after kids or beat up people or anything. Actually, there's a few songs for, what did they put? Lose Your, I don't know if I'd pick that song. He has other songs that, like, I would say, but if you follow some of these people, like some of these writers, yeah. Okay, so let's say that Keisha one that I pulled up where she's like, I'm stalking this guy, which actually I should have pointed out as well on that, is that she, that is absolutely the mind of a sociopath. Like, if everything's true and real, right? She's like, I'm stalking this guy. And the way that they view it, the way they shelf it, it's like your fault and I'm going to overcome you. And something above, I'm successful now. And that guy still would not care because she's creepy stalker, right? And so he wanted to avoid her. And somehow she feels like, he's the one that, lost out on me. And it's like, no, I think he saved himself from not being with you, right? Not saying it to her personally, it's just the song writing itself, the way she framed the personality of the person. And I'm like, well, the personality of that person is a total creep, and that's how they frame it in their mind, like you're the bad one, and I rose above you, and you lost out. Like they do this thing, and they reframe it in their brain, and they're the creepy ass ones in the whole story, right? And it's like the guy totally escaped this weirdo, but they see it differently, right? They kind of manipulate the story a bit, even though they could be outright saying I'm a stalker and then they didn't want to be with me, and and basically they're victimizing the other person, right? So that's kind of the way that they go on. And it's just bizarre. But yeah, is she, I mean, I don't know, she probably is on the spectrum quite high to go and just run in someone's house. Can she be a victim? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, she could be a victim too of a million things. But does that trait right there? And so you could look at something else too. It doesn't mean it's yay or nay, but that's the type of person that is capable of actually coming right into your face and telling you a bald-faced lie and wouldn't be bothered by it. Because, like they said, the door being unlocked is an invitation. I mean, how psychotic is that? That's something that a sociopath would say, because I'm breaking into your house. It was kind of an invitation. It was kind of like the Kim K robbers, wasn't it? Then they're like, well, she's wearing it. It's kind of an invitation for us to take it. It's like some kind of thing like that. Um, and same with men. It's like, well, she was wearing a skirt, so it's an invitation to go rape her. That's the mentality she had. And I know people are going to say she's joking, but it's not a joke. She actually did that, allegedly. So when you're looking at that, it's like those are the traits. She's definitely higher than I would ever be on the spectrum. That's what I was looking at. So I was like, every time I go through this stuff, just let people know. It's always like I go, okay, me first. Like I look at myself first. I go, okay, what have I done that was even remotely like this? That's where I start. And for anybody to call that me being a narcissist or anything, it's actually called self-reflection, and it's something that y'all don't do. So I'm just saying it out loud. It's kind of like something that should be going on privately in your head. So I'm saying all like my thought process out loud, like the answers when your teacher goes, "Can you write down how you came to that conclusion?" It's that thing. So it'll always be like, I'm looking at it, I'm self reflecting. Have I done this? Okay, now that I've done this, who else has done this? And oh, wow, okay, so it's worse. So we're on a spectrum. So I start seeing the spectrum because I'm like, I did this, but it's definitely nowhere near this. And somebody else has done this, like, house invaders, right? So you're looking at that, and that's over there, right? It's far on the other side of the scale. It's like I go back here. It's like, what did you do? Oh, I never broke into anybody's house. I was like, I never broke into anybody's house. Putting things in mailboxes, yeah. I was like, that thing I did. Um, yeah, so no. So there was nothing relatable on that aspect except for over here. So I was like, so I can see the spectrum. You can visually see the spectrum. It once you start with yourself. You could sometimes go, oh, nobody would even do that. There's people that wouldn't even go do that. So then there's people below the spectrum of something that I would do. So that's how I view this whole thing. And then I can come up with something pretty close to reality and a better way to explain what's going on here. I'm like, how am I trying to explain it? A better way to assess the issue that we're talking about. Otherwise it's just a stupid channel where they're like, these people are bad and we're just going to out them and everything. And then those people are the biggest hypocrites and they get busted for doing shit, right? And it would be different if they sat there and said, I absolutely did these sort of things right here. And then like they're confronting it and talking about it and then talking about those other people in a way that you're talking about yourself, kind of. Because I think I do that here more often than not than these other people that are outright just trying to bully other people. I know people will pick up on that one guy that I was going at. I go, but you have to understand that character there. There's certain ways you have to deal with certain people. I would not deal with everybody in that way. I go on a per person basis, and but there are some people out here that I've spoken of that it wasn't even in a very terrible way, and they've lost their whole mind. I mean, they're just very evil people, and I kind of get thrown off by that because it's sort of like my perception is off, like that they would do that. But then there's like a hindsight kind of, it's like, okay, you can start seeing those characteristics in those people, and what did I overlook to think that somebody wouldn't act that way? It's kind of weird. But yeah, but hopefully everybody's learning stuff here. Nothing is black and white. And the whole thing about psychopath could be totally off. That was the thing about it. And I was like, I think some of the ways they're viewing this is kind of weird. But it is good to question it. It's good to question it. All they're doing is going by some research that they had and they're just looking at it, and then they try these studies, but the studies are like, you could, say all these problems because you're only looking at people in prison. You're telling them you're taping them. It's with people who may not actually necessarily be a psychopath. They could be autistic and a socio, this thing, that thing. And what else? Oh, the food thing is pretty hilarious. But I mean, I don't know. I'll pay attention, but I've noticed some people eating some really bizarre things that I didn't like, and I was thinking about it, and I go, how weird. These My dad used to eat these one things that was totally gross, dude, and I would not do it. And my dad and my brother enjoyed this thing, and then somebody else did it, and I was like, oh yeah, I think that other person too is on the spectrum big time. And I go, that's weird that they did that. I go, maybe there's something with that food right there. I was like, maybe there is. I don't know, but it was kind of weird, like to try to be creepy. Like, I don't know. Um, yeah, and it wasn't celery. I was like, it wasn't celery. I'm like, I have a problem with that because they were like, I just have a problem with that. Okay, so see, here comes my empathy. I was like, I can't eat that. That's Yeah, it's weird. How do you be a sadist and then have like over empathy stuff? Yeah, it couldn't be like true terror. It couldn't be true terror things because that's awful. Shit. But yeah, yeah. I wake up enjoying the tears of my perpetrators. Like, oh my God. That's actually called I was like, yeah, that sounds evil enough. I'm into that. Come and cry for me, boys. Like, come and cry for me. Women. I don't even want to get into that other topic. There was a nah. I was like, nah, never mind. Um, Crying kings are very real. Yeah. Okay. So your serial killer many times will enjoy the victim crying before they do stuff. So yeah, I mean that's in there. Doesn't mean that you're a serial killer if you're into that, but I do find it to be effed up. Like I actually really don't have that. But I used to present that without getting into this whole thing. Um, it's funny in the context of people in that universe right there, but in reality, no, like it's not. I hate when guys do it to manipulate. That's a different thing. That's annoying, and I would get pissed. So it's not me getting off on it. It's me getting pissed that they're being manipulative and trying to do some bullshit. So no, I don't like manipulators. Like I know manipulation. Am I an asshole for being a sadist with a tear? Yeah. Yeah. Those are the guys I believe that when you're like you start talking to this guy, right? And you're having like you're going through the massive emotional trauma, right? These are the most effed up people ever. That's why I'm like really separating myself from it because I really actually do not have that thing right there. So they're so effed up that it's like you start crying, right? And you have no relation to the guy or anything. You're not dating, or you could be, but you're like crying. You're like, oh my God, my mom died and, something. And I'm just going through this whole thing. And all of a sudden, the guy's getting so turned on and then he tries to rape you. What the hell? It would totally come off from that type of thing. It'd be that thing, could be because they see you as being in a down state where they won't fight you off. It could be in something like that. I think that's the most effed up psychopath thing ever. And I've had it happen multiple times. And one situation is one of the ones that I haven't really talked about on here because it kind of consists of a couple weird things in it. And I still talk to the person afterwards, but definitely there was something really bad in that situation. Then, much later, they were acting kind of weird. Um, but I was trying to get some other thing from them, which had nothing to do with that situation. But I actually never talked about that situation, and it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, and it was like one of those ones where it's like I shelf it away because it consisted of several things in it that is really effed up on the person. It really is. It's effed up on the person, and there was a combo of things that then led up to that situation to begin with. And I'm like, yeah, dude, no. So that person may be a little weird, being outed for some situation there, or they may not view it as anything wrong, as these guys always do, of being a perpetrator. But yeah, it's like something where it starts off like consensual, like there's these things, but then all of a sudden this other thing happens, and then that thing happens, which they fall in line with this topic right here, and then something else happened, and then it just turns into actually an illegal action. Totally. And I'm like, that's a weird one. It was mixed with a lot of things, so I didn't want to bring that one up so much as the rest of them because it's like, what the hell, dude? Yeah, but yes, it falls in line with that thing right there.